All right, you're going to want to get your paper and pencils out. For this one, we're going to have a great topic. We're going to be talking about Spec Ops Warrior Mentality, or as my guest wants to call it, resiliency, which I think is perfect for nowadays and what we need more of with everything going on. So make sure you're paying attention, writing some things down, taking notes, sharing this so other people can get the benefit of it as well. But today we have a really remarkable guest on Pencil Leadership. We have Colonel Cary Harbaugh on the show today. He's got 41 years of military service. He's done it all. He's been through it all. I could spend the whole episode just reading about all he's done and been a part of. But I do want to highlight his awards and decorations just because it's a fascinating thing. So he's gotten the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Legion of Merit Medal, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, the Meritorious Service Medal with 3 Oak Leaf Clusters, the Expert Infantryman's Badge, and the Master Parachutist Badge, the Pathfinder Badge, the Air Assault Badge, the Italian War College Badge, and the British, Italian, and Czech Republic Parachute Badges. So he's definitely got plenty of experience. So we're excited to have him. And I'm actually going to take one moment because my mic stand just fell off and get that back up still. Hey, we're live. This happens, right?
We'll make sure mine's on.
Right, for sure. All right. Can you hear me all right?
I hear you great, Chris.
Perfect. Well, we're back to it. Make sure I got the right one on. All right, perfect. But yeah, Colonel Harbaugh, welcome to Pencil Leadership.
Well, thank you, Chris. Honored to be with you. Anytime
Absolutely.
I get to talk about our special operators and what they've been dealing with, and any way we can help the public understand that well, I'm glad to have a chance to do so. Absolutely.
And yeah, we're definitely at the end of this episode going to be talking about the foundation that Colonel Harbaugh is the chairman of. So stick with us, stay with us to the end so you can hear about that. It's a fantastic foundation. But yeah, if you can, I would love for you to kind of give a highlight of your career, maybe just the moments that have stood out to you or have really had an impact. I know you've done so much. But what's kind of brought you to doing what you do right now with the Special Ops Warrior Golf Foundation?
Well, I had a great ride, 41 years, but so many of my brothers and sisters in uniform have done as much or more. That's for sure, and including the wounded warriors of the Special Operations community and the fallen of our Special Operations community, and frankly, all the military services that have given the ultimate sacrifice. So I like to think that a lot of the adventures that I had all were, I was very, very fortunate compared to so many others. And I get to bear the fruit of that, but also dedicated my life, not only while I was still on active duty, but also when I moved into retired status to assisting those folks. So I had a great ride. I mean, I never wanted to be anything but. I joined the Army in '78, enlisted, went to college, graduated in high school in '76, went to college for a couple of years, always wanted to be a soldier, kind of leaped out, snuck out like a thief in the night and joined the military in the middle of the night, walked away from a full ride scholarship, not much to my parents' chagrin. But the service was in my family. It was in our history. I knew I was going to ultimately be in the military in some capacity because it's just what we do. I mean, in fact, sitting behind me there is my great grandfather's map from the Civil War. He was a captain with Sherman's cavalry during the March to the Sea. That's his March to the Sea saddlebag.
Wow.
Map. In a museum in Pennsylvania is my 8 times great grandfather. He was an officer with the Washington Valley Forge, and then later a officer in the Southern campaigns of the Revolutionary War, so spanned the entire Revolutionary War. And then I've got relatives throughout our history. We like to joke in our family, like Lieutenant Dan, only we don't die. You know, it's good. So if you know your Forrest Gump, And so what I did, my brother, he did 30 years. I got a son who's already got, he's closing in on 14 years actually this month. Got a daughter at the Citadel getting her commission. You know, it's just what we do in our family. So that was a piece of it. I quickly went into, I started off in the airborne forces, paratrooper kind of stuff. And then I drifted into special operations, which is the way most people do. I did that for my enlisted years. And then when I took a commission after 10 years as an enlistee, I then did, and I was a non-commissioned officer. I was about to make sergeant first class. I made the jump to officer, and then I went into the special operations world again, but this time as an intelligence officer. And I got to do a lot of wonderful things there, and lead at varying different levels, and deploy to interesting places, and do interesting things on behalf of our nation and our allies in the world. And then I got the final opportunity I got in my career was to lead the Wounded Warrior Program for Special Operations Command, which had assisted me when I got messed up many years before. But Admiral McCraven put me in the role in 2013, and then I was able to serve that out my final 6 years and assist our wounded, ill, and injured special operators and their families as they were going through their really, really tough times. And so, along that, I also got involved with because as a director of a Wounded Warrior Program, I had the responsibility for fielding teams for adaptive sports, for the Invictus Games, for Warrior Games, and I was on the entry of those events into what we do now for all of our warriors, other than when COVID is interrupted this past year. And so I got involved with that, and I ultimately closed out my active duty here as a director, not only of our Wounded Warrior Program, but also as a director of the 2019 DoD Warrior Games that we held here in Tampa Bay. And so that, of course, sprung into other endeavors that we'll talk about later. But that's sort of in a nutshell, what's happened with me.
Wow, lots of experience, lots of just I'm sure stories and just learning moments. And so I'm excited to dive into what that Spec Op Warrior mentality, that resiliency, like you put it before we started, looks like, and how we can build that into civilian life for us that aren't in military. So I guess, what does that look like, having that Spec Op Warrior mentality, that resilience from your perspective?
Well, not only my personal, things that I went through in my life, but also what I've watched so many of our warriors go through in various different levels. And we're dealing with the entire breadth of the special operations community, from our what we would call the white type of special operations forces, more traditional kind of special operations forces. Everything in special operations is special. It wouldn't be called special if it wasn't. But to our most elite, highest levels, like our special mission unit side of things, like the guys that would go after bin Laden, or the guys that captured Saddam Hussein, those kind of organizations. So you have a full breadth of that, and as well some specialized organizations that I got to serve in the various different roles I had in the special ops intelligence. We had there is a crucible of training, of selection, assessment into those forces, and specialized training that has a high attrition rate, because it's looking for people that have certain types of gifts. There's a physicality aspect to it. There's a mentality aspect to it, but there's also a resilience aspect to it, because you will see that it isn't the strongest necessarily that makes it through the kind of selection and assessment. It's not the smartest. It's a combination of factors. It's the people with endurance. It's the people that have that mental capacity to deal with adversity. And so that's what's taught in that time. It's very different than what you get in conventional forces. I mean, I started off as a conventional infantryman and paratrooper. When moving into the special operations world, a very different type of or higher level of selection and assessment, and the attrition going through those into those programs or into those units a lot higher. So that breed of human that is able to do that. And I say that because it's both men and women. Women have access to all different levels of special operations community, and serve in some, if people knew in the classified realm, some of the things that we've had women operators do, as we use that term, you'd be amazed. And you would say, okay, there certainly is not, it's not about gender and total physicality in comparison to who can bench press so much. It's about the talent, and about whether or not that's suitable for the mission and the activities involved in those specific units. And so what you see is that folks that go through that training build a natural resiliency. And from that, they're able to weather the various different storms that hit them in life, be they physical injury, mental injury, what have you, whatever befalls them, they're able to get through that. I can tell you that so many times I would see wounded warriors fresh off battlefields that were pretty shattered, pretty beat up, who were on FaceTime or a Zoom or a Skype call with their buddies downrange, and they'd just been medevaced. They're laid up in a hospital. Recovery could be very protracted, but they're not looking at it that way. They're talking to their buds downrange going, I'll be back in a couple of months, or I'll be back in a few weeks. Now, the doctors are all shaking their head going, okay, that isn't going to happen. But in their mind, that's what the mission is now. And also that once you get into these kind of organizations, and there's a familial, a family connection with the people that you're in with, and you don't want to let them down. So getting back to them is really, really important. But also there's that aspect of how hard it was to get there in the first place. And you made the big leagues. Okay. You're in the big show. You're in the Major League Baseball, NFL level of military service. And now you're on and you don't want to come off the bench. You don't want to be put on the bench, and you certainly don't want to be sent down to the minors. So you're doing everything you can to get back. And I would tell you that attitude pervades our community. And that is why, despite the fact that we've had more wounded, ill, and injured than the conventional, certainly proportionally, because more special operators are exposed to those combat type events than the conventional force in repeated fashion and in a more sustained fashion and in a more intense fashion. Therefore, they are used to it and they are conditioned to get through it and move on. And so we've had over 17,000 wounded, ill, and injured in the special operations community. We have the highest number remaining on active duty. Why? Because they fight to stay. So while you hit a medical review board that make a decision, a medical evaluation board that make the decision to medically retire you, these guys will step up and fight to stay on active duty rather than take the entitlements and the benefits and move out. That's not our attitude. I would say that our society could benefit from that. Tremendously, because it is a step up and move out kind of attitude.
So I love talking with individuals like yourself, with individuals in the military and special ops, things like that, because just this mentality is so different compared to like a lot of people you hear maybe taking advantage of the system to not have to do a whole lot. And so 3 things stood out to me when what you're just talking about is these guys have that mentality, that mindset of, I'm going to be back despite what the doctor's saying, like I'm getting back there. And I think that's one, like to start such a huge piece to this resiliency, like having that mindset, like I'm going to get back, I'm going to come back. And then the second 2 things you mentioned were the family aspect of it, that having that circle, tight knit community with these handful of people who, like they literally would go die for. And so having that connection there, having something to fight for. And then the third part you mentioned was that they're going to fight and do whatever they can to stay in that level, stay at that place, because they don't want to retract or be downgraded. And those 3 stuck out to me just because I think they can tie into everyday life if we had that perspective on things.
Well, first of all, and with this commentary on society, we got to be careful. I mean, we're in a PC climate, so I got to be careful how I say this, obviously, or I'm going to become a pariah and I won't be interviewed by anybody else after you. But we have gotten to an attitude that, there's a bit of a woe is me attitude in at least a segment of our society. I want to say all, because we've got some very tough people, as we're talking about some very tough people. But we've lost a willingness to try to seek toughness. Okay, a willingness to revel in it. So while we like it, we certainly like it in our athletes, and we like it when we see a hero in an entertainment piece, a movie or television show. We love that, right?
Yeah.
But then we're appalled by it when we realize that tough people have to go do hard things, sometimes very violent things, in order to protect our rights and preserve and keep us safe from dangers. Okay, so
Yep.
you can't, on the one hand, be upset by the fact that you got to have, special operators out there kicking doors at night, shooting people in the face sometimes. But I mean, ultimately, we want to capture them because we want to get information and get more of them detained.
Yep.
But there is a lot of shooting in the face that has to happen. Okay, and we're appalled by the fact we have to do that, yet we know we need it.
Right.
And we need people that do that.
Yep.
And so it's balancing that, but it's also looking at ourselves and saying, okay, I want to be tough. You're not going to get tough playing Call of Duty. Okay?
Right.
And so you can think you're a special operator playing Call of Duty, or you can be one, or you can seek to behave like one in civilian society.
Yeah.
And the way to behave that way is to be that kind of resilient person, because you would, if you met special operators, in any number of them, you would find that they're intelligent, capable. They're not a bunch of knuckle dragging bozos. The reputation and some of the things that are cast by the media and entertainment industry that makes them look like they're just violent and ultimately just out to hurt people is just not what they are. Okay.
Correct.
And the motto of the Green Berets, for instance, is liberate the oppressed. I mean, it's done in Latin, but it's liberate the oppressed. It's about taking care of people. And I will tell you, one of the most heartwarming thing that happened, or heartwarming things that would happen to me during my career and going into various different adventures and places, especially when you were going into a situation where there were Americans in peril, was that but getting into a place where people knew it was okay now, because they saw that American flag on our shoulders. They knew the cavalry was there. The rescue had come, that they were now in capable hands of people who cared. And that wasn't just Americans. That was the people around them. It was the whatever foreign nation we were in, who knew that we were good people, that we weren't just coming to hurt.
Right.
And we were coming to help. And to have them wave flags at you or wave at you and be happy to see you and greet you. It's something that you only see in movies like shows like Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
They're liberating a town in France and everybody's rushing out. But that sense you get in a lot of different places in the world. We don't march in as conquerors.
Right.
We march in as people that are there to relieve the oppression, to save them from danger. And of course, that's also what makes a lot of the combat environments difficult, because you don't always have everybody in that population that feels the same about an American presence. And that is what you get in counterinsurgency. It's very difficult to fight in those kind of environments, because you've got bad guys intermingled with people that are happy to have you there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's and I think a thing that stuck out there was how you said you can't just kind of pretend. You can't play Call of Duty to become or to get that resiliency mindset. You actually have to take action to change. So what could us civilians who are looking to become more resilient, no, we're not most likely going to become Spec Ops, but how can we build that resiliency through maybe some of your trainings or mantras within the Spec Ops?
Well, I think there's a few things.
Okay.
From the physical perspective, it's keeping yourself fit.
Okay.
Good diet, good attitude, keeping yourself prepared for dealing with the physical adversities, because they affect their mentality. Okay. Another piece of that, another element I would say, is keep yourself well read and informed. Right now in society, we're very polarized, sadly, very polarized. I will tell you, as a military member who's always been down the middle, I've served president, 41 years. I go back to Carter, for God's sake. Okay. And I served all the way through to Trump. Obviously, I retired before this election, but I knew Vice President Biden. I'd worked with him on cancer stuff related to our wounded warriors. So I know I've met the current president and actually had long meetings with him. So, knowing all of them, they're politicians. We serve at the pleasure. The military is a agnostic group. It does not take a side, despite, again, how media sometimes couches us. That is not the case. And as well, you see some senior officers out there, guys above my grade and sometimes way above my grade, that are vocal about it, and not necessarily in our best interests. I would say that. Okay, it is better for us to be Switzerland.
Yeah.
To really not take a side, because we serve whoever
Nope. Might have lost him.
You get me back? I'm
Colonel, you there?
I'm here. Are you looking
Awesome.
at me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Oh, all right. Maybe the feed will come back up here. I don't know, because it was
Yeah.
a little pop on my screen. So, but this is where I think we have to, from a mentality perspective, keep yourself well informed without taking a side. Look at things from all sides, because this is what military leaders and special operators have to do. Have to look at it's condition-based decisions. So look at the conditions, be realistic, and not get too weighted one side or another. Try to eliminate your biases. Be as objective as possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So physical, well-read. Is there anything else that we can start to implement into our civilian lives to become more resilient?
I think a piece of that is attitude. Then beyond that, when you take the physicality, you take a good diet as well. You take you keep yourself well informed. Then it's maintaining an attitude that says, I'm not going to let these things overtake me.
Gotcha.
And now it is difficult. I gotta say, and I don't have personal perspective on this because I've been doing, I was served the military from 19 years old on, but there is to have had those adversities, be they challenges. Maybe you're doing some sort of extreme sport or whatever adventure type activities you like that pursue you and challenge you. Okay, that make life difficult. Those are the kind of things that help you build resiliency. So it goes a little bit into physicality, but that if you're doing endurance activities, be they marathon running or, mudders, tough mudders, or whatever you're doing, taking triathlons, whatever, taking on challenges that challenge you both mentally and physically, help build that resiliency so that when you have those moments when you are in stress, you're able to take measure of yourself and weather through them.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's huge and something I try to implement not only in my life, but in those that I help is, we've got to challenge ourselves. We got to push ourselves. Are you doing something hard each day, whether that be getting up on time and just making your bed right away, something you don't feel like doing, or whatever that task is? If we can continually challenge ourselves in some way, physically, mentally, and with our attitude, I think that's, I agree. I think that's a big part of how we can build resilience in our lives. Yeah,
I'm interested you would use that analogy because Admiral Bill McCraven, who's one of my old bosses and one of my favorite bosses, actually the guy that put me in charge of the Wounded Warrior Program for Special Operations, his famous speech and obviously a book that followed, Make Your Bed. And I do that. And I do that every day. I've been doing that forever. I chuckled when he made that speech because it's like, it is part of what we are. It is, make your bed. Why? Because if you have had completed your first task of the day, you'll put you in a good mindset. You got stuff complete. And when you come back to your rack at night, you're going to have a fresh bed. And it makes you feel good. And so make your bed. And it is a good thing to do. And if you look at kind of where we are in life, and I would have to say, I grew up, my Irish mother, God rest her soul, I lost her a couple years ago, but she was, we made our beds. My brother and I and my sister, we made our beds. It was none of this, oh, well, I'm busy, you got to go to school. Not that, I would have got snapped around. You had to do it. And I think nowadays we've got way too many people who leave their bed unmade and don't think about that. We get the priorities of life rushing forward, and you got to dash off and get your Starbucks so you don't make your bed. And it's like, hey, get started with things. Make there's a routine to life.
I think that's huge. It's like, because how you do, and I didn't make this up, how you do some things is how you do everything. So like the small things that we maybe put off or we don't do correctly or fully, like that then kind of like bleeds into the rest of our actions, the rest of our lives.
Right. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, do you want to take a pause and I reboot this thing to get the cam back up? Would that work for you?
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be fine.
Let me just do that because I don't know why it's not coming back. I can see you perfect, by the way. But
good, perfect.
All right.
All right, guys. Yeah, we're just going to take a quick break. We'll while Colonel Harbaugh is rebooting. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you go subscribe to Pencil Leadership if you're watching this live. If you're watching on replay, let me know down there. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. I should be able to see them, and I can ask Colonel Harbaugh when I get back on here. But yeah, we just start building that resiliency in our lives, like we've covered so far. Just the physical, being well read, understanding, just being aware of what's going on, and then having that attitude, building that attitude by doing something hard each day. So some really good input that Colonel Harbaugh is sharing with us. And make sure you stay to the end so we can hear about the Spec Ops Warrior Foundation. It's an amazing thing. So you're going to want to hear about that. But we're just waiting for Colonel Harbaugh to reboot here real quick. And I think we got him back. Let's add him on here.
I think I'm back with you now.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Technology sometimes.
It's what happened when I was booting in earlier.
Gotcha. No problem at all. So yeah, I think these are definitely some actionable things that the everyday person can implement. And you see, and that's the crazy thing. All of this you can see in the world today are issues we're facing, and you can see how that's negatively impacting, like physical fitness. You can just see like obesity rates are skyrocketing. Health is just having so much issue, especially with the pandemic and everything correlated to that. Just with social media, people just assuming what they see is true and not even following up or reading or trying to find the truth behind all the topics going on. So they're not being well read or informed, or they have these strong biases. And then just the attitude and taking on challenges. People don't want to do that. They want to stay comfortable and kind of be these keyboard warriors and not actually do anything that challenges them. So I think these correlate so well and really are kind of a window into the heart of the world right now and showing why there's so much issues.
Yeah, I would tell you, my fiance is a chief of staff of a VA hospital, which has constant challenges in making sure, especially with the vaccine, making sure people understand the truth. And convincing people that, it's safe, it's efficacious, it's worthwhile to get it. You need it. The only way we get past this pandemic is ultimately we get the herd vaccinated. Okay, and it's making that fight and make sure that message is heard. We have way too much, as we were talking about being informed. We have way too much information out there that we take social media at face value and treat it as truth. And we have to stop that. I mean, you have to look at things from all sides. Whether there's political bias or what have you, there's always going to be that kind of weight. But sometimes it's just truthful or not. And we're letting mob gossip guide us. I hear this, I heard that. Things like on the vaccine, the number of people that have had bad side effects on this COVID vaccine is minuscule compared to the number of vaccinated. Okay, so why in the world would you pan the vaccine because you heard that somebody had a side effect? Somebody got hives, or somebody had, there's a few that have sadly had Bell's palsy, which by the way passes. So, short, but it's been minuscule numbers compared to already millions vaccinated. So it is so low risk. It's like worrying about getting hit by lightning. So how about we just move on and get past this thing by getting people vaccinated as rapidly, at least as they're available. And also, you name it. It could be a political topic. It could be a security topic. It could be an economic topic. Get the right information as opposed to what you're hearing over Facebook or Instagram or you name it.
Yep.
And as well, read history. People believe that we're in the most, contentious times in history. Oh, like hell we are. Read history.
Yeah.
And so learn, and they say you're doomed to repeat it if you don't understand it. But read about it and look at those elements of it. Understand things like immigration. Understand the elements of it. Not, people want to be out. I come from a country and a mindset that wants to be open and supportive. But also you got to measure that against the resources your nation has available to itself. So take measure of that and not being callous and bigoted if you're concerned that you don't have the resources to support the immigrants you bring in. It's things like that.
There's lots to it that you got to think for yourself and really kind kind of come to your own conclusion. You got to do the research, but that's what people don't want to do. They don't want to take the time. They want it now, the answer, and a lot of times that's not necessarily the right thing.
Yeah, or they're looking for information that supports their already fixed mind on it, and so they're going into groupthink, and that's what it is. I mean, for instance, if you're only watching one network to get one perspective, and you're watching or another network of the other side, you're going to hear exactly what you want to hear. And if that makes you happy, and I think that's where we are, we've crossed into that in our society of making ourselves happy. I can tell you, military guys are never happy. Bitching and moaning is part of what we do. Okay, so that is the mission could have always been better planned. The training could have been better. You name it. We're always critiquing ourselves, but that self-criticism makes us better. And I would say that's the kind of thing is look at yourself and look at where you're drawing your information from and look at where your attitude sits and say, okay, could I improve that? Could I be everybody, including this nation, every place in the world is better when everybody thinks in the middle and is willing to go left or right. I hate to use that because it's political, but you go do your steerage just like you're guiding a sailboat, left or right, depending on what you need to do that gets you the best path to success or to whatever your end point is that you desire. Yeah. So we just need to come to that and not kind of steer, because you steer one way, you're only going to be stuck one way.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And the fact of the self critique, people hear critique and they're like, oh, that's negative. But if we don't look back onto our actions and the results we're getting, we're never going to be able to improve. And so, I think that's a huge thing to be able to just reevaluate and grow. Yeah, absolutely. And it is something special. And that when you go back to, you were relating to the training and that kind of thing and how you prepare yourself to be more resilient. Criticism, peer evaluation is part and party of what we do in our training. And it's also what we do in our in the ways that we evaluate each other. You know, we have a promotion board system. It doesn't mean that just because you stay long enough, you're going to make. I mean, I did 41 years. You don't see 4 stars on my shoulder. Okay, right. Things like that happen because at some point, well, one of my best friends is a retired 4-star. He's my former commander, and he'd say at some point we're all non-selected for something. Okay, at some point we're told either we got to retire, we got to move on, or we're done, or we're not getting that next job. And so have that as part of your attitude. Okay, how do I progress to where I want to be and feel like I've been successful, but recognize that you earn it. It's achieved. And skills and experience matter. And that's, I would see it in my young officers, often in a big hurry to get to more senior leadership, or convinced because they may have maybe a slightly higher IQ than some of the people they're working under, that they should be in charge. They're missing the point that skills and experience acquired over a long time matter. They matter a lot. Yeah. We've lost the tribal message of, the tribal elder being willing to sit down. Remember all the movies where we'd always, the young Indian warrior would go in and sit with smoke the pipe with the old warrior, or it would be the old cavalry officer dances with wolves. He'd go in there and he'd sit down cross-legged and have a smoke with the old guy who'd give him and impart wisdom to him. Yeah. We have those tribal leaders in our society, and we have old people with tremendous experience. But right now, we have this attitude against age and wisdom that, well, we've got it all because it's all available at our fingertips. It's on these magic devices that we use. Right? Well, that's not wisdom. That's information. And we need to start to pursue where we gain wisdom, where we study the great philosophers, broaden your mind. Yes. And that is where we're doing a disservice to our youth as we come up. And I'm starting to sound like one of the old Muppet guys sitting up in the thing. We need our youth to read the classics, to read the old philosophers, to understand how you think and why you think. Yep. And that will make us all better. Yeah, and I think resiliency that you need. Definitely. And it goes back to, just in society, people just want that quick thing. They just want it now instead of taking the time to have to search and read and do all that. So I think these are definitely actions that we can take in our daily lives, start building that resiliency, that special Spec Op Warrior mentality. So, Colonel Harbaugh, thank you so much for sharing all this, all your wisdom, being our tribal leader today. I appreciate it very much. Before we kind of wrap up, I ask one question to my guests each episode, and that's the fifth grade of pencil leadership is we are all created uniquely with a purpose to leave a positive mark on the world. So with that, when everything is said and done for you here on Earth, what do you hope your mark is?
Yeah. I'd like to be, it's one of those things where you hit in your 60s, you start thinking about what you'd want in your tombstone, so to speak. Okay, so I would want to be remembered, and my mark would be that I made a difference in the lives of the warriors that were at their worst point. So I would want to be remembered for that. So the mark that I've tried to make has been that I have improved the quality of life and helped them through their resiliency challenges to where they were able to thrive. And I have a few of them that are very close with me. I mean, I told you my son, he's a special operator himself at Fort Bragg, already 14 years in service, 5, 6 combat tours, about to go back out. My daughter at Citadel, about to move out and probably will be deploying within the next few years as she moves into officership. I think of the other warriors, though, that I've had. I've got Josh Lindstrom, just to name one, George Vera, Corey Remsburg. I think all these guys, if you Googled any of their names, you'd find out incredibly valorous young men that did amazing things for Ireland. Clay Pendergrass, he's like a brother to me. He's a Navy SEAL that have gone through just tremendous challenges, and that I played some role in helping them get past those challenges and achieve a place in life where they're proud to be.
That's awesome.
And moved on. I've got guys that have, Rob Kilmartin graduated law school now. Josh is in law school himself. Good guys that have moved into successful business leaders now after military careers or where they were medically retired. George Vera is a paraplegic and, moving on with life and living it to its fullest. Travis Dunn. I go on and on. So many different warriors that over the time I felt like I was able to play a role in helping them.
That's awesome.
And so that's the mark.
And
at the same time, it's balanced with failure too, Chris. There were the guys that didn't get through. There was the guys we lost. The injuries were too severe. There were guys that got cancer, and we lost during my tenure over 120 in special ops to cancer. Way too young to be dying from cancer. Just those exposures out there in the battlefields. And I will be haunted until my grave by the faces of those that were left behind. That hoped that we could pull off something. And even though I'm not the medical guy, I was trying everything I could to muster the medical community to save their lives. Yeah. And so losing guys like Medal of Honor recipient Ron Scher, who was one of our guys, Green Beret, to cancer. I lost Tom Walsh. He was one of my Navy SEAL captains. He was my deputy actually at the Wounded Warrior program. I lost him to melanoma. Others, I can go on and on. Again, numbers. Those haunt me. So you balance those, and then also the guys we lost on the battlefield. Although I have to say that when you lose them on the battlefield, sad as it may be, and you live with that, and you live with supporting their loved ones and families, the Gold Stars. I got many Gold Star parents that are close to me. The Scott Bill and his wife Jennifer, Jim and Mary Regan, that lost their loved ones on the battlefields. This difference for us is that while that is tragic and we support those families, is that was part of the job. Okay. Right. I always felt like the surviving all of that, getting through all those injuries, losing their friends left and right, and then getting something like cancer. It was like just how much more can a person have to take? Right. It would be a classic example of that. But these are tough, and helping those Gold Star families through these tough times, including the Gold Stars of those that we lost to cancer, is one of those challenges that remains.
For sure, absolutely. And I know you're doing a big portion of that through the Special Operations Warrior Golf Foundation. So I would love to hear just a little bit more about that, and obviously where people can connect with you for more information or to help out.
Well, I'll start with that. How's that?
Cool.
It's sowgf.org, sowgf.org on the web, and you can find out all about us. Watch a little video that was done on our program by the Golf Channel. And what our program is really about is, while we use the golf course as the venue, the fact is it's a transition foundation that assists our special ops wounded warriors when they either are being medically retired or have hit their natural retirement point of decision, and are moving into, looking for another career, another opportunity to serve in the community or in the business world or what have you. And so what we do is we connect them to mentors. Those are business leaders and other leaders that are willing to sponsor them, and we take them out on these very high-end golf retreats at beautiful places, modestly priced because we were able to negotiate pretty good deals. And we take them out, and they get to know their mentor. And so we get a business leader. We got a number. We got one scheduled in April. We're still looking for more mentors and sponsors to sign up and sponsor a wounded warrior and go with them and get to know them. And we found that the golf course is a great place for that. A lot of business leaders play golf. So we train our guys. We have World Golf Hall of Famer Jan Stevenson on our board of directors, and she has a foundation called Crossroads. She helps train the guys before they go, so they are pretty decent players, and then they're able to play with their business leader mentor and get to know them, and then that mentor becomes a life coach, along with hooking them up to resources and other things. Our board is great. I got my former commander and good friend, a 4-star general retired Tony Thomas. He's on my board. Our former Command Sergeant Major, senior enlisted leader for Special Operations Command, Pat McCauley, is on our board, along with Jan, as I already mentioned. I got 2 Gold Star dads, both Jim Regan and Scott Bill. One a SEAL Gold Star dad, one a Ranger Gold Star dad, who both run foundations. So the Brian Bill Foundation and the Army Ranger Lead the Way Foundation on that board. I've got Dr. Colleen Jakey as our medical advisor from the Haley VA Hospital, as our who is one of the hospitals that has very focused program for our special operators. I've got Mr. Tom Gates as my vice chairman. Tom was a fighter pilot in Vietnam and now has been doing nothing but giving back to veterans for a long time. Lots of great guys. Art Woolholtz is my secretary. I can go on and on. He's my secretary treasurer, former Marine lawyer, and a great business leader himself. And anyway, we've got a lot of different folks on the board. The Reyes, Larry and Sam Rea, out of Homes Fit for Heroes in the New Jersey area, that does a lot for our special operations community. Again, you have to go to our website. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few, but a great board that helps muster these leaders together for these events. Yeah,
that's awesome. And yeah, just doing my own research and looking into it more, like just really cool things you're doing. And so yeah, people check it out, get involved. And Colonel Harbaugh, thank you again for being on Pencil Leadership today and sharing.
It was honored to be with you, Chris. Anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
People want to reach out to me through the website or cary.harbaugh@gmail.com or cary@sowgf.org. Just
awesome.
Email away, and I'm happy to hear from you.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, get connected. A lot of wisdom, expertise there. So again, Colonel Harbaugh, thank you, and thank you guys for listening to today's episode, being recorded live. And share this with somebody. Help them to just become more resilient, and then take something that you learned today and implement it into your life. So, but until next time, let's go out and be pencil leaders.